In this section, we will talk about the defect report. Like we explained in the test process, we have three main steps. We have at the beginning test planning. When we write our plan, we begin to plan for our project. Then test design, and we talked about test design in details, in which we begin to write our test cases and begin to add them to test suites so that we can execute them. So the third step is executing the test cases, comparing between the expected result and the actual result. If the expected result is the same as the actual result, then this test case is passed. If there is a difference, in this case, we begin to write a defect report and assign it to the developer. So in this section, we will begin to talk about the defect report, how to write it, how to assign it to the developer, what is the bug life cycle, what are the different types of bugs or defects that we can find in the software. So let's begin by defining the bug report. So the bug report or the defect report, it is the same. It is a document of the occurrence, nature, and status of a defect. So we begin to write or document the defect. So let's begin by explaining what is a defect. So the defect is an imperfection or deficiency in a work product where it does not meet its requirements or specifications. So like we said, if the expected result is different than the actual result, this means that our software or our work product does not meet the requirements or the specifications. The defect is the same as the bug, and it is the same as a fault. So sometimes you will find me saying defect, sometimes saying bug or fault. It is the same, there is no difference. Okay, so this is the defect. We begin to write a report for this defect. So like we said in the test case has some fields. Also, the bug report has some important fields that we must fill when we write it. The first is the bug report title. There are many formats for writing the bug report title, but the best way to write the title of the defect is this, okay? Even developers like it because it makes it easy for them to understand where the problem is. So the best way is to write the section, then an arrow, then the description. So for example, if the bug is in the registration or in login or any functionality, you write the name of the section or the name of the functionality, then an arrow, then a short description about it. Like the test case, the bug report title must make me understand what it is about. So here let's read the title. No error message appears when user leaves the password field empty. So the title makes me understand everything. You should not say problem with password, okay? You shouldn't say leave password empty. All of these are wrong titles because they don't inform me where exactly is the problem. So this is the first field, which is the title. Then we have steps to reproduce. And the steps to reproduce must be very specific, okay? You must say every step that you have taken in order to reproduce the defect. You also must enter the data that you used. So if you used an email, a password, a data, a number, or a value for the card, for example, you should specify it. So here, for example, these are the steps. 1, open facebook.com. The first step is opening the URL, okay? If this is a website, if this is an application, the first step is doing something inside the application. Don't say step 1, open the application. No, begin after it, okay? Click on login or something. Then click on the hamburger icon in the upper left corner. And the hamburger icon is this. You might have seen it in many applications. This is the hamburger icon. It is 3 horizontal lines. Why do we call it hamburger icon? Because it is like the hamburger, okay? We have a piece of meat and 2 pieces of bread, okay? This is the hamburger icon. Then scroll down. Even scrolling down is considered as a step. Click on settings. For example, click on data usage. Change data usage to minimum. This is just an ambiguous bug. This is not a real bug in Facebook. Okay, then the expected result. The expected result, like the expected result in the test case, the same exactly. What should happen? What are the things that should happen when I perform the last step in the steps to reproduce? Then we have the actual result. What really happened when I executed those steps? Of course, it must be different than the expected result. And of course, in the defect report, we fill both of them while writing the defect report. When we talked about the test case, we said that we fill the expected result, but we leave the actual result empty until we execute the test case. But in the defect report, you already executed the bug or the test case, and in this case, you fill both of them with the data that happened. So this is very important. Then we have the environment that the defect occurred on. So if this bug occurred or happened on one mobile device, for example, you should specify this mobile device, its operating system, the version of the operating system, and so on. If the bug happened on many devices, so for example, you tried the scenario on Android 9, Android 10, and iOS 13, so in this case, in the environment, you add all the environments, okay? You say that this defect happened here, here, and here, okay? Sometimes you also add the reproducibility rate. So is this defect reproducible? Every time I execute it, it happens, or sometimes the problem happens and the other times it does not happen. You can say, okay, reproducibility is 5 out of 5. This means that every time I execute those steps, the bug happens. You can say, no, 3 out of 5 or 1 out of 5. Okay, so this is the environment. Then we have very important thing, which is the screenshot or the video. If the defect is static means that there are no animations happening to prove that the defect happened, like lazy loading. If there is a loading, okay, and this loading takes too much time, like 10 seconds. If I add a screenshot, the developer will not understand the time that it took for the loading to finish. But if I add a video, in this case, the video will tell him, okay, like you see, this video is 10 seconds, and for the whole 10 seconds, the page didn't load. If I will add a screenshot, the screenshot must be a full screen. It should show the URL of the website. This is very important. If you are working as a freelancer, it would be good to show the time, okay, when did you find this defect, so the time and the day, and add a red rectangle around the place or the area where the issue happened, okay? You can add this by using Paint or Snipping tool or any other tool. So here, for example, I'm telling him, okay, the Add to Basket buttons are not on the same line. This is my problem, okay? So this is in the screenshot. If you will add a video, especially in mobile phones, you must show the clicks of the user. This is an option that you must make it on. Okay, you must activate it so that when you click on something, it appears that the user clicked here. Okay, so that you can prove to the developer that you clicked on this button. So like you see in this video, when I'm clicking here in the application, like you see, the clicks of me, okay, on my button are appearing. Okay, so like you see, there is a white circle that appears when I touch the screen. This is called tabbing, not clicking. So we have clicking, click, click in the mouse or the keyboard. But tab, we say tab on something. This is. So this option should be activated. Then we have the priority of the defect. Okay, is it important or not? We have 4 main levels of priority. We have critical, high, medium, and low. So the first one is critical defects. Critical defects are main functionalities that don't work, okay? This is a disaster that happened in the application. We cannot deliver the application without solving it. Like, for example, login functionality isn't working. The application crashes in the home page, or the cart value is wrong, okay? I added 3 pizzas to my cart, and the total amount should be $50, and it shows $45. This is a critical defect. Then we have high priority defects. For example, the login page responds slowly. So this is something related to performance, but it is important. Or the user is not able to add a profile image. So this is not critical because adding a profile image is not the most important feature in many applications. So we can say that it is a high priority defect. Then we have a medium priority defect. So some pages have poor performance, not the most important pages in the application, but for example, a messaging page or contact us page is slow. So this might be medium. Also, the portrait mode isn't working correctly. So for example, in my mobile, this is landscape and this is portrait mode, okay? So portrait mode is not working correctly inside the application. Most users use their applications in landscape mode, not portrait mode. So this is not a high priority defect. Also, we have low priority defects like spelling mistakes, or we have some images misalignment. So is this image like the one you saw here? So this might be low priority, or it might be high depending on the context and the project itself. Okay, so the same functionality in some applications it might have a high priority, and in some other applications it might have low priority. For example, sending a voice note to your friend. Okay, If this is the main functionality of an application, if this is an application that is made for sending voice notes, in this case, an issue in sending the voice note should be a critical defect, okay? If this is, for example, a social network like Facebook, so in this case, the failure in sending a voice message would be high priority or medium priority. But if this is, for example, an online payment application, and this is a feature, a small feature that is inside the application, in this case, the same feature might have a low priority. So the priority of the defect also depends on the context of our project. This is very important.